Good evening to everybody. Here we are on Wednesday, Parashat Tisa. We're getting closer to the end of Adar. We still have 2 meetings of being happy with Nigunim of Adar. Let's start with Mishi Nichnas Adar. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe, 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 So, we did that every week now for a while, and we said that there's a mitzvah to be happier, every day to be happier, and we got to such a level of happiness. We spoke about the levels of happiness the last week and the week before, and we're getting all the way to Simcha me'al tam dat, Simcha that is above understanding, above logic. That was in Purim. We could do the Chayav Inish Lebesume de Poraya. You get mixed up who's Baruch Haman and who's Aru Haman, Baruch Mordechai. So how can you be happier than that? How does Hashem expect us to be even happier than that after Purim? So the Rabbi, in the same Sikha, he says that after Purim, we're supposed to get to such a level of Simcha Poretz Gader, Simcha that breaks the boundaries, Simcha that gets you above anything. And breaking the boundaries is supposed to help us break the boundaries of the Galus and get to the Geula. We're supposed to get out of all boundaries with our Simcha. Which song we should do for that? Have no fear, Mashiach will be with us here. Have no fear, Mashiach will be with us here. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now. Without delay, Mashiach will be here today. Right away, without delay, Mashiach will be here today. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. Right away, without delay, Mashiach will be here today. And Israel have no fear, Mashiach will be here to say, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now. So Simcha has such a power that it can break barriers, but there can also be a Simcha that breaks the wrong barriers. There's a Simcha, a wrong Simcha that we hear about in the Parsha. We have the story of the Egel, of the golden calf, and there they were very happy. They even had an orchestra. It probably had a lot of instruments. It was probably the most modern things invented then that were using in their orchestra, but it was wrong Simcha. The translation of it is Chinga. Chinga is I don't know how you call it in English, Baruch Hashem. If you go to a bar, you go to a trance, whatever, there's probably trance there. You get to such a happiness. They say it was connected with Gilui Arayot Shfichut Damim V'Avodah Zarah, with adultery and how to call it, bloodshed and whatever. And the story is very interesting. When we read the psukim, Hashem tells Moshe to go down quickly because your nation did wrong. And the Chazal said probably the Erev Rav, that they were the ones to sin in the sin. And who else didn't sin? We'll talk about it soon also. And he said, Red kishichet amcha. And then it says that Moshe was going down, and he tells Yoshua, Ma kol anot ani shomea. I hear something is tormenting me. What's this tormenting sound? What's this tormenting sound that I hear? He's asking Yoshua. There's a kol anot b'machane in the camp. I hear this terrible noise, this terrible sounds. Lo kanonot gvura velo kanonot chashusha. It's not like a war, and it's not like people screaming for help. Kol anot Hashem. It's something that torments the soul. And that was the music. There was the wrong kind of music there. The wrong kind of orchestra, the wrong kind of music. There can be good music and bad music. Yes, there can be. The good music is, and the good orchestra is in Beit Midrash. And the keneged zeh, the opposite, is here in our story of Chet HaEgel, which happened on Shiv Asar B'Tammuz, on 17th of Tammuz. And the Chet HaEgel was the bad music. Now they say that Moshe, when he sees the Egel, he sees the calf, he doesn't lose his temper. But when he sees the mecholot, the dancing, and what is the mechol? We have to understand what the mechol is. Then he breaks the tabernacles, right? Only then he throws them off his hands, the luchot. And he saw Avodah Zarah. It wasn't enough to make him angry, to anger him. Only when he saw the mechol, the mecholot, the dancing, this terrible music, he really got upset. But machol is because of the circle. Machol is called machol because the best way to dance is dancing in a circle. Hasidim are dancing in a circle because there should be achdus, there should be unity between them. But they, pashtus, they put the calf in the middle and they were dancing around it. Because the word machol comes from being round. Now I send in the group, whoever is in the group, I send in the words of the last chapter of Tehillim, Perek Kuf Nun. And in Kuf Nun, there's all kinds of instruments are mentioned there. Let's read it out first once. Hallelujah, hallelu kel bekodsho, hallelu ki ha'uzo, hallelu begvorotav, hallelu korov gudlo. That's psukim before. And then comes the psukim about the instruments. Hallelu beteko shofar, hallelu בנבל וכינור, הללו בתוף ומחול, הללו הוא במינים ועוגב, הללו בצלצלי שמע, הללו בצלצלי תרועה, כל הנשמה תהלל כה. The last one is corresponding to the human voice, כל הנשמה. It's the best way to express the soul is the last one, כל הנשמה. But before that there's 9 instruments, 7 instruments, there's 9 mentioned. שופר, נבל, כינור, תוף, מחול, מינים ועוגב, צלצלי שמע, צלצלי תרועה. 9 of them. So if there's 10 things, they should be according to 10 spheres. So there's a whole lesson by Rabbi Ginzburg talking about these instruments corresponding to the spherot, but also, surprisingly, corresponding to the stars in the heavens. We mentioned that the Greeks and the Romans were looking for the song of the stars. They couldn't find it, but our sages knew that there's a lot of music happening. Everything is in circles there. Everything is connected with circles, the circles of the time, the circles of place, the circles of with the angels, a lot of levels, the skies, the 7 skies and the 4 dimensions, and Hashem, which is one, makes the word echad. There's a whole lesson that we can talk about it some other time, but there's more talk than music. So I don't want to say too much. So it corresponds like this to the different instruments. We have the shofar. The shofar is alone. He doesn't have because the other ones are come in couples. The shofar is alone. Shofar is the highest. It's keneged keter. And the shofar is corresponding to the circle of the day, the daily circle, the movement in the skies, that there is movement. So that's for the shofar. And that's keneged emunah. Emunah is one of the three parts of the keter. Emunah, ta'anug, veratzon. So the emunah is the highest, and that's the shofar. That's the pleasure. That's keneged pleasure. That's the source of pleasure. Now, nevel v'chinor, there's a couple here. Nevel is keneged ta'anug, right? The shofar is the emunah, and the nevel is the ta'anug, pleasure. And it's corresponding to the zodiac, the circle of the 12 months, of the difference between the stars up there, according to each month. Our sages knew a lot of astronomy. The Rabbeinu Bachayei is talking about it, the Rav Azulai. There's all kinds of Rabbeim. The Rav mentions them, Rav Ginzburg mentions them in his class. So the nevel is a very beautiful instrument. It's supposed to be connected to Anug. And that's the circle of the months of the zodiac. Now the kinor, which is also a different kind of harp, it's not the harp of today. There was a difference between the nevel and the kinor and the violin. It's not a violin of our days, but it's called kinor, ner kafvav. It's a ner of Hashem, of Yud Kei Vav Kei, and they said the kinor is keneged yam kineret, and the star that is connected with is Shabtai. Shabtai is Saturn. He also made a whole list of each star, each of the seven, how do you call them? The constellations. No, the seven, how do you call them? The seven stars that move up there in the skies. Each one is corresponding to one of the days of the week. So the Shabtai, Saturn, is connected Shabbat, and its Gematria is like Tshuva. So that's probably connected Ratzon, that's Tshuva. Now we have another couple, Tov Umachol. Tov is connected Kochav Tzedek, which is Jupiter. The Tov, the drum, is corresponding to Jupiter, that's Chochmah. And Machol, which is the most problematic one of all these instruments, that's a Machol, we thought. Something round, something hollow. We don't know if it's kind of a drum or it's the flute. The Chalil, HaChalil Makeh Lifnehem, they say when they were rejoicing in Beit Midrash, not in Beit HaMikdash itself, but when they were bringing the how do you call it? The talucha, the process of bringing the bikurim and aliyah laregel, they say the Chalil Makeh Lifnehem. The Chalil is to hit in front of them, so it could be a big drum, or it could be the flute. So Machol and Chalil, זה המחול, and it's corresponding to Ma'adim. Ma'adim is Mars. Mars is the red star, and that's Keneged Bina. So this star of Bina of Mars is the problematic one, which caused all the trouble there with the golden calf. Let's go on, and we'll go back to this. Minim v'ugav. Minim, they say it's something with a lot of sounds. It's probably the piano, whatever it is. That corresponds to the sun. And ugav, which is an organ, is corresponding to Noga, to Venus. So we would have thought that Venus is the problematic one, because if we would have a adultery, it would be Venus. But it turned out it's the Mars, it's the red one. It's not this quiet one and beautiful one. It's the problem with the red one. Tziltzilei Shama v'Tziltzilei Torah, that's the next couple. Tziltzilei Shama is Mercury, and Tziltzilei Torah is the moon. And then we have Kol HaNeshama is all the four levels of Domem Tzomech Chaim Medaber. That's the human soul. So happiness should be happy, but Holelut, the Simcha, Mazot Usa, the Simcha of the wrong side. So the Rabbeinu Bachayei is mentioning that when Miriam went out to dance after the splitting of the sea, it says Vatikach Miriam hatof beyada. It says she took the tof, but the other women went out after her with tupim umecholot. They took both kinds, the tof and the machol. They took the good kind and also the problematic kind. So even though it's mentioned here in this chapter, all these instruments, there's two instruments here that were not in Beit HaMikdash. That's what Rav Ginzburg brings from the Rambam and whoever from the Mishnah, I think. There's two of them that were not in Beit HaMikdash. That's the drums and the organ. There was no organ in Beit HaMikdash. They had a psanter, they had psanterim symphonia they did have, but they didn't have an organ. Probably because the organ is connected with agavim, ugav. not being tzniazdik enough, even though it says here menin v'ugav. So that's interesting. But they say on the other hand that Moshe Rabbeinu knew that the machol also connects with mechila. So what was so bad there with this dancing with the golden calf? They had this modern orchestra. They probably had trance. They had wild beats, things that are connected with your most lowly desires. It wasn't a desire for kedusha. It was desire for your lowly animal desires. And the golden calf represents this desire to be young forever. It's made out of gold. It always stays young, never grows. It also very fast and happy, like instant. They didn't want to wait and work hard for things. They wanted instant answers and solutions for everything. That was the golden calf. We have in the Haftarah, we have a different kind of cow. That's the para aduma, which is the Haftarah. Chazal said that tavo para v'tekaneach zo'ad bna. But let's do a song first. We're going to do some songs of dancing later. But there's a nice Sephardic song about this chapter. Know this one? So there's kosher music. There's a good orchestra and there's a bad orchestra. I'll tell you one of the easy ways to figure out if what you hear is good or bad music. There's a very simple question you can ask. Would this music, would they play it in Beit Midrash? Ask yourself, would it dance like this in Beit Midrash? And usually you'll get the right answer. You can see how you're dancing or what you're singing. If it's not pure and clean, they wouldn't sing it in Beit Midrash. It belongs to the other orchestra with all these modern hit parade, whatever artists that want to express themselves only and not the kedusha. So we said tavo para v'tekaneach zo'ad bna. The cow is going to come and clean up after its calf. Interesting. It connects with some musical expression, some how do you call it, bitui, some concept in Hasidic music. There's a story. First of all, before we go to that, I promised you a few weeks ago, I promised you a story about the power of women connected with Az Yashir. Vayaminu ba'Hashem u'Moshe avdo, but we didn't have time. So let's do the story now. Because in Chet HaEgel and also in Chet HaMaraglim, the women didn't take part. They didn't want anything to do with this wrong kind of thing. The women always had the emunah v'bitachon and they didn't want to do wrong. So about that. So here a story about the power of women. So there were two friends living in two different villages. One of them believed in tzaddikim, but the husband didn't. And the other one, it was the other way around. The husband was a big believer in power of tzaddikim, and his wife was not a believer. Now the one that believed in tzaddikim became sick. And he really wanted somebody to go and ask the Rabbi for a bracha for him, because he believed the bracha from the tzaddik is going to help. So he's pleading for his wife that even though she doesn't hold by it, please go to the Rebbe and ask for a bracha. So she's a good wife and she agrees and she goes to the Rebbe. On the way, she stops in the village where her friend lives. And this friend that doesn't believe in tzaddikim, they have a different problem. Her husband owes a lot of money to the parts, to the landlord, and he doesn't know how he's going to pay for it. So she believes in tzaddikim. Her husband doesn't, but she says, please, please, let's go ask for a bracha from the Rebbe. Here, my friend is going. I'm going to join her. Please, can we go and ask for a bracha? So I said, okay. What is it going to say? Bracha v'atzlacha. What is it going to help? So she's going with her friend. They're going together to the Rebbe. I think the Rebbe was the Rebbe of Rojin. And they get to the Rebbe. And when you go into the Rebbe, you write a kvittel. You write a little piece of paper, you know, what your plea is and what you're asking for, the names for the bracha. So they didn't know so well to write. So the shamash, the servant of the Rebbe, he helps them write the plea. And he brings it into the Rebbe. And the Rebbe writes the answer on these pieces of paper, and when the shamash gives back the pieces of paper, he gets mixed up. And he gives the lady that doesn't believe in tzaddikim, he gives the piece of paper with says, bracha v'atzlacha. No, what did I say? What is it going to say? What's it going to help? So she's going to bring it to her husband and show him, you know, you believe in tzaddikim, what's going to help? And the other one, she gets this very strange answer, but she believes in tzaddikim. She's going to do whatever the Rebbe says. It's probably going to help. But she tries to understand why the Rebbe writes on that piece of paper. Why did it say, I don't know how you call it in English, leeches and hot cups and leeches. It's a treatment to get some blood out, you know, to make the person feel better. What's that going to help with the money problem? She'll tell her husband somehow. He's going to laugh at her and he's going to say, I told you. But she goes home and she comes to his husband with a strange answer and she pleads with him to do something. He says, nah, you and your tzaddikim, look, what's it going to help? Nothing to do with money. But the date comes when he's supposed to go pay the parrots and he doesn't have the money. And he says, you know what, wifey? If it's not going to help, it's not going to hurt. Maybe it's going to hurt a little bit, but never mind. I'm willing to try. So he does that treatment, and he's full of all these places where the things were sucking his blood, and he's lying in bed with all these stains of blood, and the messenger walks in, demanding he comes to bring the money to the landlord. And he sees him with all the blood and says, what happened to you? And at that instant, the guy says, I really wanted to pay the part. I tried so hard. I worked so hard. I even went to borrow money from my friends. I took some loans and I walked through the forest and robbers attacked me. Look at me now. Look what happened. And the messenger is terrified. He runs back to the parts and tells him what he found. And Parts says, bring this Jew on the bed. I want to see for myself. So he sends the messengers. They bring the poor Yid on the bed and on a stretcher. And he's playing it off already now. I. And he's brought to the parrots. And with the parrots sits the lady of the castle. And she can't stand to see the blood. He says, oh no, look what happened to him because of us. That's because of us. Look what happened to this poor guy because of us. You have to forgive him the debt. So Rabbi says, okay, I've forgiven the debt. You don't have to pay me. And then the wife keeps crying. She says, but he borrowed money because of you. And he doesn't have how to pay it back because of you. What is he going to do? You have to do something about it. So the Rabbi says, okay, 2 years for free. He doesn't have to pay me anything for 2 more years. And the Yid goes home surprised. And the wife is overjoyed. And when they go to say thank you to the Rebbe says, me? A bracha? About money? I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I couldn't see anything to help you, so I just said bracha v'atzlacha. But the wife, with her emunah, with her belief and faith in tzaddikim, she brought the redemption herself. So that's the power of women to bring the redemption. What should we do about that? We have time, but I want to do. Let's do the ufaratzta, because breaking the barriers the good way, breaking the belief is one of the ways to break the barriers, because I can't believe, no, it's not going to happen, it's not going to be good. That's wrong. Hasidim are supposed to be happy. So let's do ufaratzta. Break the barriers, you know that it's going to be good. Ufaratzta, 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 yama b'kedma, tzafona b'negma. Ufaratzta, 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 yama b'kedma, tzafona b'negma. Okay, I promised you something about the cows. So, there's notes, there's music, there's singing, but there's something that you can't write down in music, and that's something that comes from the soul. It's called, the expression is ge'ayot, ge'ayot, gimel ayin. It's like the mewing of a cow. The cow, when it's, how do you call it? There's a name for it, I think, that it makes a sound. So it's para go'a. So now there's a story in Sefer Shmuel that when the Holy Ark was taken in custody, was taken by the Plishtim, Palestinians, and it was there for a while, and it hurt them. They became sick, and they wanted to know if it's really because of the Ark. They're going to send it back to Israel. They're going to send it back. So they put the Ark on a new wagon, and tied to the wagon 2 cows. Now these cows were nursing cows. They had calves. And they didn't want to leave the calves. They didn't want to go anywhere. But once they put the ark on the wagon started going. They started going, pulling the wagon, even though the calves stayed behind. And they said that when they were going, they were calling out, they were crying. They were crying. It says, the pasuk says, Vayisharna haparot baderech. Vayisharna haparot, Shmuel Aleph, chapter 6, pasuk 12, you can check it up later. Vayisharna haparot baderech al derech Beit Shemesh. They were going to Beit Shemesh. B'mesila achat halchu. They went on a straight road. Haloch vega'o. They were going and crying. Velo saro yavinu smol. You would expect them to try and turn around and go back, but they just kept going. And the first word, vayisharna, which means to go straight, also means they were singing. The cows were singing. You know cows singing? So this ge'ayot, it's something that comes from the inner soul, that it's all these little tiny notes in between the notes that you can't, you see a bad chazan who says, aha, you're supposed to cry here. You're supposed to go a krechts. You hear some people go, ah, yai, 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 ay, yai. It's funny when they do it, it sounds so artificial. But if it's done right, it's so deep because it comes from somewhere that you need more. That's one of the differences between this Sefer Nigunim, the old one, and the new one. Because the new one just looks like notes, but in the old one, they really try to put all these little tiny articulations, which is very hard to write. Let's look for a sample. Something with a lot of krechten in here. Actually, it doesn't have to be a slow nigun. Also in the fast nigunim, sometimes there's a lot of krechten happening there. Okay, let's do this one. Number 90. Just a turn. Let's do something else. I did in the other class, I did one by Rabbi Hilmi Parash. I want to do something else. Fanke for Nikolaev. Shabbos and Yontiv. not too much here, but you know what I'm talking about. Here there's more. This was number 81. Number 80 also has something like see the little ornaments there in between, because that's the way the chassid was singing. Okay, so the ge'ayot, a musical expression of innermost feelings. We finished last week the Happy Nigunim of the first volume. In the same book, there's a second volume. There's a few Nigunim here. Let's do them. And then we'll go to the other book, see how much time we have. And we skipped all the Nigunei Vadut. There's a lot of happy Nigunei Vadut in the both books. Maybe we'll do them next year or some other occasion. So there's Nigun 205, which I don't know. I'm not going to do it. Let's do Nigun 206, which is amazingly happy. Okay, here we have Gayot also. If you see it written, I can show you. There's a lot of little tiny ornaments here. This one. This one. There's a lot of little ornaments there. See in between the notes. That's also Ge'ayot. Okay, Krachten. so happy with the right kind of happiness, the right simcha. Okay, let's go on. 207. Okay, actually it's written here like this. Okay, that's 207. Let's go on. Simcha has to keep going. We have to break the barriers of the galus. This Simcha Nigun, I think, is not originated in Chabad, or actually it's not sang only in Chabad. In some other Hasidiyot, they sing it also. I'm singing it the way I'm used to it, but it's written here a little different. That was 208. What's coming? Nigun Rikud, the last one in this book. Next, there's a march. Let's do dance. 209. That's it for the first book. Let's go over to the second one. We have time left, right? Yeah, we have time. Unless you have things you want to ask for. If you want to ask for anything specific, that's the time. There's so many nigunei vadut for bringing nigunim that we didn't do that are happy, but they're going to do them some other time or some other year. Here, I want to see if there's anything written about this nigun. Shin Yud Aleph, 311. That's where the happy nigunim start here. Nigunim for dancing and simcha and dancing. Shin Yud Aleph. Let's see if there's anything mentioned about it. It's a famous melody. Okay. Shmuel Zalmanov connected with it for the Rebbe's birthday when he came 71. So Shmuel Zalmanov decided that this nigun would be nice for the pasuk of Yifrach Be'emav Tzadik. So he suggested it, but it didn't get in Chabad. It's a very known melody. Probably not from Chabad, I'm not sure, because it said that Shlomo Der Geller used to sing this. Next one is also a known nigun that was put for the Rebbe's birthday kapitel. Te'anena sefatai ki azam ralach. Part here with outward. Okay, that's nice. Happy. There's so much simcha when the nigun is happy, when the person that wrote it is happy. The simcha goes over. You don't have to add all this wild music with drums and flying colors and smoke and whatever in order to make it happy. The melody is happy by itself. This melody was from Nikolaev, and for the Rebbe's 70th birthday, right? They connected it. Now the next one, 313, is interesting. It also was put for the Rebbe's birthday when the Rebbe became 70, from chapter 71. The words are for Tehillim, of course. The melody is from Bobov. It's not a Chabad melody. The origin is from the Rebbe Kedushat Zion, which was Ben Zion Halberstam. Hashem Yikom Davo, he was killed in the Holocaust. The Kedushat Zion, the Rebbe of Bobov, and that's his nigun. Let's go. 314. I should leave a bookmark there because I keep looking back into what they're saying about it. 314. Again, for the Rebbe's birthday, that's what they one after the other. It doesn't say who. Maybe in the other book it says. Let's go on. In the Hebrew I didn't have time to go on, but in English we can go on. Prazot Hashem Yerushalayim, also a happy tune. That was 315. The Rebbe, in one of his siches, he was talking about Yerushalayim after it's being redeemed on 67. And he asked, the Rabbi asked, to connect it to find a happy nigun for the words. So on the spot, they connected it with this melody, because it was a known melody. So they connected the words, Prazot Teshev Yerushalayim. Prazot means, wow, amazing. It connects with what we're talking today, breaking the barriers. Yerushalayim is going to be without a wall, like we see today already. Yerushalayim is spreading out. Because when you have a wall, it restricts you. You know exactly where you are. But that's like and Purim and Shoshan Purim is celebrated only in cities that had a wall in time of Yoshua bin Nun. The cities that had a wall were the ones that wanted more protection. The ones sitting outside, they felt secure. So Yerushalayim is going to be so secure, it won't need a wall. So that's, again, breaking the barriers. A song talking about the Geula. When the Mashiach went up to the hall of, when Baal Shem Tov went up to the hall of Mashiach, and he asked him, when are you going to come? And he said, when your well springs are going to burst out everywhere, outside, the farthest away they can be. So that's what he answered him. So there's a nice Chabad melody on it. Let's see if it says anything about it. As far as I know, it is a Chabad melody. No, it's a known melody that was connected with the words Ematai Katima. So we don't know. We don't know if it was in Chabad in the beginning or some other Hasidut, but no other Hasidut claimed the ownership of this one. So we're owning it. Enough for today with these songs. We'll go on next time. We still have some beginning for next week. Last of our lessons in Adar, I think. No, there's so many of them for last time. So let's do. What do you want? Which song would you like to go on, or one more song for finishing? Here's the time to ask for anything that you want. Honey, I see you thinking about something. We have a new chat here. It's from before. What is wrong with wanting to be young forever? No, nothing wrong with being young forever. They say the Rebbe said about there isn't such a thing as an old melamed. You know, the melamed that teaches kids. There's no such thing as an old melamed, for a few reasons. First reason, that they won't last. They don't, you don't have an old melamed because they have working so hard. They're not going to last. But the nicest explanation was that you can't have an old melamed. He has to be young. He always has to be young with the children. So the age doesn't go according to years. The age goes according to how you feel. You can be whatever years old and you're young. So there's no problem being young forever. Because you can be a 90-year-old young person. You can be a 100-year-old young person. It's not a matter of years. It's a matter of happiness. Okay, what song would you like?
Something to pick yourself up if you are down.
Again, another one of Adar. We did Mishenichnas, or we didn't do? We didn't do Mishenichnas.
Excuse 1 second. You said that the cow represented being young.
The what?
You said the sin of the God, ego.
Yeah, I didn't say that singing was the wrong singing, the wrong kind of orchestra and the wrong kind of music. It was bad music and a bad orchestra.
You said it represented wanting to be young.
No, I didn't say. I said the golden calf represents, wanting to be young forever and want instant answers without working on anything. That's our generation. They always get rid of the old people. We don't need them. We know better, and we don't have patience for working hard. Everything has to be instant. Everything. It's the generation of instant. That was the problem of that generation. So it's nothing. No problem with being the young. It's the way they behaved. So and the music was wrong music. It was wild music. It wasn't music for kedusha. It wasn't real happiness. It was wrong. So we can do another happy one. So which one would you like, Sarah? What do you have in mind?
I'm writing my notes. My notes.
Okay. We did the Mishenichnas Adar this meeting or not? We started with Mishenichnas Adar. I don't remember anymore. It was long ago. My young memory doesn't remember. But I think that's enough for today. We're going to see you next week and have a happy, happy week.